Okay, I want to share with you a couple thoughts that I feel the Lord shared with me uh, yesterday, Easter Sunday. Um, some real interesting thoughts. Before I do that, I want to tell you, today I'm painting off of a hawk. I like to paint off the hawk sometimes, and that's what we're doing today. And I'm painting from my the picture that I'm looking at quite a distance, and I want to do that. Sometimes I like to do that because it gives you a different perspective than something that you're painting up, looking at very closely and intensely. So that's kind of what I wanted to do here. And so as we do that, we're painting real thin. We're painting with a refined linseed oil over. We're going over a we're going over stand oil. Now, you normally will never go over stand oil with a refined linseed oil unless the stand oil is really been dried. So if that painting has really dried well, then you can do that. Otherwise, you don't do that. Okay? Just to let you know. Oh, yeah, so what the Lord had shared with me. Okay, so what the Lord shared with me was really something kind of wonderful. I don't know if you have ever read in the Old Testament how Elijah was fleeing from Jezebel. So in his flight, he eats this cake that the angel gives him, and he runs for 40 days and 40 nights, which is pretty amazing. And then he arrives at Mount Carmel. And what he does is he's waiting to talk to the Lord. And so in his waiting to talk to the Lord, he has an experience of the Lord. And his experience of the Lord is similar to Moses' experience up in Mount Sinai, as Moses has gone up there for 80 days, actually 40 and then 40. And what happens is both of them actually have an experience of the power of God, in the wind and in the a storm as the Lord is passing by. But the most notable thing is they experience the Lord. Elijah experiences, as the Lord passes in his power and might, the still small voice of the Lord. And Moses has a little bit of a different experience. Moses is told by the Lord, you can't see my face because no one has seen God's face and lived, but I'm going to hide you in a cleft of the rock, and I'm going to cover you with my hand. And then as I pass by, I'll remove my hand so you can see the back of me as I'm passing by. And so again, in both cases, we experience the gentleness of God, the power, the storm, the winds, it almost sounds like a tornado passing by, but then the gentleness in this still small voice. And it happens a little differently in each of their experience. So we have the Lord telling Elijah, basically, no, you're not the only prophet who has not bowed the knee to Baal. I have many thousands. And so that's a car starting up. And so the experience is that they hear the Lord not in the tumult, not in the noise, not in the storm, but in the still small voice. So then Mary Magdalene arrives at the tomb on Easter Sunday, and they have just gone through the horrible tumult. Of course, it was much worse than a tumult. It was the nightmare of the crucifixion, the horrible, painful, tortuous crucifixion. And in this experience, now Mary Magdalene is present with the Lord through the entire experience, and here she arrives at the tomb. And in arriving at the tomb, she sees a man whom she thinks is the gardener. And she sees this individual, and she asks him where he has carried the Lord. And in a very touching moment, of course, the Lord says her name. He says Mary. And he says it in a, I can only imagine it to be a still, almost quiet, but deep and heartfelt way. And so he says Mary. And then she recognizes him in his gentle voice. And so I realize that her recognition of him is similar to Elijah's and Moses' recognition of him in the still, in the quiet, in the gentleness. They recognize and hear him in the quiet, in the gentleness. And I'm painting an air today because the Lord was really kind of into ears. He healed them, he healed ears. So that's what we're doing. We're doing ears. Yeah. And we're going to thin all of it out because it's going to be almost like a glaze.